Welcome to Narify Dark, where shadows tell their stories. Let's begin. The Babysitter's Terror. I remember that night as if it happened yesterday, even though many long years have passed. My name is Anna, and I was a young college student when I was hired to watch two children, Lucas and Sophia, in an old house located in a quiet suburban neighborhood. The house, which had been owned by several generations of the Garcia family, was filled with memories and secrets. Mr. and Mrs. Garcia were a lovely couple who left me detailed instructions and assured me they would return before midnight. After I put the children to bed, I settled onto the living room couch to watch a movie. The house, despite its beauty, felt oppressive with its long hallways and rooms that were only dimly lit by old-fashioned lamps. Silence filled every corner until the phone rang around 10 o'clock at night. I answered, expecting it to be the Garcias, but instead, I heard only heavy breathing and a sinister laugh before the line suddenly went dead. I tried to calm myself, dismissing it as a stupid prank, but I couldn't stop the chill that ran down my spine. The phone rang again a few minutes later. This time, the voice on the other end said in a threatening tone, "You should go check on the children." The voice laughed hysterically before hanging up once more. Terrified, I rushed up the stairs and found the children sleeping safely in their beds. Yet something felt deeply wrong. The house seemed to hold a dark, oppressive presence. Suddenly, the phone rang again. I hesitated before answering, but eventually picked up the receiver. This time, it was a police operator, and he was screaming at me. "Get out of the house right now. The calls are coming from upstairs." I dropped the phone in shock and heard heavy footsteps coming down the stairs. Without thinking, I grabbed the children, one in each arm, and ran out of the house, just in time to see a man's hand smash through the glass of the front door. The police arrived quickly and discovered that the intruder had been using the phone in the master bedroom. When they went upstairs to investigate, they found a blood-stained axe on the floor next to the phone. The back window was open, and the curtains were fluttering in the night breeze. There was no trace of the intruder. He had escaped, leaving the children and me in a state of absolute terror. The parents returned shortly after, shocked by what had happened, and grateful that I had acted quickly to save their children. I could never forget that night. Although the children were fine, the experience left an indelible mark on my soul. The Garcia family decided to move shortly thereafter, unable to bear the thought of staying in a house where tragedy had nearly struck. The legend of the haunted house spread throughout the neighborhood, and no one ever rented it again. As for me, I stopped working as a babysitter and focused on my studies, carrying with me the memory of that terrifying night. Alone with fear, I was 12 years old when my parents left me in charge of my younger brother Thomas while they went out to an important dinner. I had always been a responsible child, and I had taken care of my brother on many occasions before, without any incidents. The evening was going normally. Thomas was watching his favorite TV show while I prepared dinner. The house was quiet, and I felt safe and in control. Everything changed when the doorbell rang insistently. Remembering my parents' warnings not to open the door to strangers, I looked through the dining room window. I saw a man wearing a long coat and a wide-brimmed hat wandering around the yard. The man looked suspicious, and his presence triggered my deepest sense of caution. I closed the curtains and told Thomas not to make a sound. The man approached the front door and began pounding on it forcefully, trying to turn the handle violently. Terrified, I secured all the doors and windows and took my brother to the basement, where we hid behind some old boxes. From our hiding place, I could hear the man wandering around the house, trying different entrances and banging on the windows. The sound of the pounding and attempts to break through the doors was constant and terrifying. At one point, the man disappeared from my line of sight. So I seized the opportunity to call the police. While I was speaking with the emergency operator, the banging sounds stopped, and the house was plunged into an unsettling silence. The police arrived quickly and began searching for the man in the neighborhood. They found muddy footprints all around the house and a knife left at the back entrance. While searching the neighborhood, they discovered that the man had attempted to enter other homes and had been seen driving slowly down the street in a dark-colored car. Thomas and I were deeply affected by this experience. For weeks afterward, I suffered from nightmares about that man and felt paranoid whenever I was alone in the house. My parents installed a security system and always made sure someone was with us. The story of the man in the coat and hat became an urban legend in our neighborhood. Although I was grateful that nothing worse had happened, I could never get the thought of what might have occurred if the man had managed to get inside the house out of my head. The isolated house. I was a young high school student when I was hired to babysit for the Martinez family in an isolated house in the countryside. The house was surrounded by tall, dark trees that creaked with the wind, creating an unsettling atmosphere. The children's parents explained that they would be returning late and that the two children, Maria and Juan, were already asleep in their beds. I felt somewhat anxious about staying alone in such an isolated house, but I was confident that everything would be fine. After the parents left, I sat in the living room reading a book. The house was steeped in silence, broken only by the occasional creaking of wood and the whispers of wind through the trees. After about an hour, I began to hear a strange moaning coming from the back part of the house. At first, I thought it was the sound of the wind, but the moaning became louder and more frequent. With my heart pounding, I went to investigate. I searched all the rooms, but found nothing unusual. I returned to the living room, but the moaning continued, this time accompanied by sounds of banging and dragging footsteps. I decided to move the children to the living room where they would be safer and called the police. While I waited, the sounds intensified, and I felt a strange presence inside the house. The parents arrived shortly after, and together we searched the house. Finally, we discovered that the moaning was coming from a McDonald's toy from the movie Finding Nemo that had fallen into the bathtub and short-circuited, causing it to emit terrifying sounds. Although the source of the sound was harmless, the experience left me completely terrified. The parents apologized and thanked me for my bravery, but I decided never to accept babysitting jobs again in isolated houses like that one. This experience left me with deep scars, and I always felt a chill whenever I heard strange sounds in the darkness. Even though the cause of the sounds was trivial. The fear I felt that night was very real and haunted me in my dreams. The Martinez family installed surveillance cameras and checked all electronic toys to ensure that nothing else would disturb the peace of their home. The Smith family secret. I'm Emily, a high school student, and I had accepted a babysitting job for the Smith family in a large, old house located on the outskirts of town. The house, despite its spaciousness and fine decor, had an antiquated quality that made me feel uneasy. The Smith family was friendly, and they explained that the two children, Damien and Linka, were already asleep. So all I had to do was monitor the house and attend to any needs the children might have if they woke up. After the Smith family left, I decided to explore the house a little. I found a playroom containing many toys and a shelf full of videotapes. Out of curiosity, I took one of the tapes labeled Family Vacation and inserted it into the VCR. At first, the video showed the family enjoying an outing, but something on the tape caught my attention. In the background, there was a young woman who appeared to be a former babysitter. Her face was strangely familiar to me. Then I remembered that I had seen that young woman's face in a report about missing persons on the news. Panicked, I stopped the video and decided to investigate further. I headed to the kitchen, where I had earlier noticed some jars inside the refrigerator that seemed strange to me. I opened one of the jars and found inside it human meat and hair. In sheer terror, I dropped the jar and it shattered on the floor. I ran to the living room to grab my jacket and leave the house, but Damien and Linka blocked my path in the hallway. The two children began screaming that I couldn't leave, that they were hungry. Frightened, I pushed past the children and rushed outside toward my car. As I started the engine, the children's parents arrived and began pounding on the car windows, screaming and demanding that I come back. I drove straight to the police station and handed over the videotape as evidence. The police went to the house, but the Smith family had disappeared without leaving any trace. When searching the house, they found more jars in the basement containing human remains. The Smith family was never found, and the police believe they are now living under a new identity, perhaps searching for new victims. The Mansion on the Hill. My name is Carla, and I'm still haunted by nightmares about that night when I went to babysit for the Fernandez family at their house on the hill. I had accepted the job because I needed the money to complete my college education, and the pay was very tempting. The Fernandez family home was an old mansion located on a hill on the outskirts of town, surrounded by dense forests and winding roads. When I arrived, Mr. and Mrs. Fernandez greeted me with warm smiles. They explained that their two children, Daniel and Elisa, were asleep in their rooms and that they would be returning late. But there was plenty of food in the kitchen and movies in the living room to keep me occupied. The house was enormous and decorated with antique furniture and family portraits that seemed to watch every movement. After Mr. and Mrs. Fernandez left, I sat in the living room watching a movie. Everything was quiet, with nothing to be heard except the occasional creaking of wood and the howling of wind through the trees. At midnight, I began to hear strange sounds coming from upstairs. At first I thought it was the wind, but the sounds became clearer and more distinct. Whispers and light footsteps, as if someone was walking in the hallway. Summoning my courage, I climbed the stairs to check on the children. Daniel and Elisa were sleeping peacefully in their beds, but the whispers and footsteps didn't stop. I walked down the hallway, trying to pinpoint the source of the sound, but I found nothing. I returned to the living room, trying to convince myself it was just my imagination. However, the sounds continued, now accompanied by an unsettling feeling, as if someone was watching me. I decided to call Mr. and Mrs. Fernandez to inform them of what was happening. The call went straight to voicemail, which increased my anxiety. As I tried to leave a message, the living room light flickered and then went out, plunging the room into complete darkness. I felt a chill run down my spine and panic rising inside me. With the phone in my hand, I headed to the kitchen, searching for a flashlight. When I turned on the flashlight, the beam revealed a dark figure standing at the end of the hallway. I screamed and ran toward the stairs, racing up to wake the children. When I reached their rooms, I found the beds empty and disheveled. My heart was pounding as I called out to them desperately with no answer. I searched frantically throughout the house, calling for Daniel and Elisa. The whispers grew louder, and the feeling of being watched intensified. I reached the attic, a dusty room filled with old toys and boxes. There, I found the children huddled in a corner, trembling with fear. I knelt beside them, trying to calm them, but their eyes were filled with terror. Suddenly, the attic door slammed shut violently, and I heard the sound of the lock turning. We were trapped. I tried to open the door, but it wouldn't budge. The flashlight began to flicker, and the whispers turned into deafening noise. Then I heard a soft but clear voice whispering my name, Carla, Carla. With my heart nearly leaping from my chest, I began desperately searching for a way out. I found a small window overlooking the roof. With no other choice, I helped the children climb through the window, then followed them. We walked carefully across the roof until we reached a nearby tree. We climbed down and ran toward the forest without looking back. The forest was dark and dense, but we didn't stop until we reached the main road. We found a nearby house and asked for help. The family that received us called the police. When the officers arrived at the house on the hill, they found no one. The house was empty, with no trace of the dark figure or Mr. and Mrs. Fernandez. But they found evidence that someone had been living in the attic for years. With food remnants and a makeshift bed, the police never found Mr. and Mrs. Fernandez, and the house on the hill remained abandoned. Rumors of the haunted house spread throughout the town, and no one dared to approach it. Daniel, Elisa, and I were deeply affected by that experience. The children were sent to live with their grandparents, and I never worked as a babysitter again. To this day, I still hear those whispers in my nightmares, and the image of the dark figure remains etched in my mind. The experience left me scarred forever, and whenever I pass near an old house, a chill runs down my spine, reminding me of that terrifying night in the house on the hill. Thanks for watching Narify Dark. Don't forget to subscribe, and keep the shadows close.